Well, my transfer is complete. I do see some places where too much of the graphite went through. I want to take this off. Now, the top part of the head from the picture is dark, so I'm not worried about that so much, but where there's lighter parts, that can be a problem. So I'm going to try to remove some of that, because all I really need to do is just to see the outline to know where to paint. And sometimes I hear sometimes graphite can kind of get suspended in the paint, and especially if you're doing a really thin wash, that can be a problem. So I picked up some of it just to make sure nothing is going to be too obvious. Lighten it up. And can you still see? Yeah, you can, just barely. Oh, good. Well, the next step is to put some masking fluid on there. Some of this bird, even though our sample picture may have printed darker than the original, we're going to put some masking fluid where the feathers are, the white feathers where they come in, so that we can protect those and make sure that they stay white. We don't accidentally paint over them when we do our washes. And then the feet also, the toes, as they come across the branch. So I don't have a nib on the end of a brush, so what I've done is I've taken a pair of scissors and a toothpick, and I'm just kind of flattening the end. I will be breaking it off here too. So let me get this prepared so I can show you what I had in mind. And the reason I flatten it is I want to be able to have the material actually stick to it. The material being the masking fluid. And I found if it's just simply a point, you don't want to see that. If it's simply a point, that it doesn't flow off of it, because it has viscosity. In other words, it makes a little drip or a drop, and it won't make that drop at the end. So I've cut off the end with my scissor. I've made it kind of narrow, and what I've found is on that flat side, that's where the masking fluid will kind of build up. So that's what I've done, and that's worked for me before. Next time we do this, we'll have that nib. Okay, so masking fluid. I think what I'll do first is put it on the eye, and I'm going to actually go in and take away that dot now. And what we're doing is we're protecting or reserving that highlight that's in there, and that have a reflection of light. So I've dipped my brush in there, or my toothpick in there, and I can see, you can see it's built up on the sides, but it's not on the end. So I'm going to try to use that as a brush, and I might have to alter it a little bit. And since the eye is important, I'm not going to do it first. I'm going to go down here and practice with the toes. Maybe that's a good idea for you. Oh, that works really well. There's a toe. There's a toe. Now what happens if as I put this masking fluid on, it gets a little bit to the left or the right of original? Well, that's where his toe is now. That's how I would think of this. So those are his toes on that side. I'll do them on the other side. You and I have this image as an example that we can use. It doesn't have to be something we copy. However, the more of this image that we are able to reproduce, the more that we will learn about the subject. Because hopefully as we do it, we ask ourselves the questions, why is it that there's only 3 toes, and how does he fall off? Well, it turns out there was another toe in the background behind this sticking out, but I didn't elect to highlight that. In other words, trace it with pencil so that it would transfer through. I am going to get his toes away from the branch because I do want to put a wash on the branch, and I don't want his feet to be brown at all. So I'll just go right up here. Okay, well that seemed to work pretty well, but I just thought of this this stick that he's on. There's likely going to be some of the patterns on it that are going to be lighter. So here's the plan. We'll do a light wash. We'll put in some shadowing, so it looks kind of roundish. and let that dry. Then we'll come back and paint in a little bit, some darker lines, brown lines, to look like shadows, and we'll put those right behind what we might put in as our masking fluid. And then the last wash that comes across will go across everything, including the masking fluid, only it'll be gone. And then the last wash will be the lightest that there is. So with that in mind, I think I'll try that. I'm just going to put a line. Oh, I'll put it over here just to see. Now that seemed to turn out pretty good. All right. So I don't know if I'm simply practiced at this. By the way, I don't put so much that it drips off. But this seems to work. I'm making this around that because that's kind of a knot-looking thing. I think that would look cool. Now we don't want. This is something I've learned in some of my other. Have a way to enhance things. We don't want to make those enhancements look better than our subject, which in this case is our bird. So, but I don't think we have to worry about that too much. So I'm just going to put some lines in here where I think, and I'll use the image as my model. I've also made lines with masking fluid really small or thin, and I found that I can still get them up with the kneaded eraser. That still works. Okay, I think that's enough of those. I might have one more down here. Again, these lines typically are not straight. They are just edges in the wood. Okay, so now I'm going to go work on the bird, and I think I'll do the eye last because that may be by then I'll get good at this. So I'm looking at the picture, and where do I see some white feathers? I see them up here between this white area into the black. So some of these, let me make sure that's thin. I make that drop go back toward the back. There, that might help. And then it flows to the front a little bit. No, I'm going to touch it off like I do my paintbrush. I guess after it dries, if I've made something too big, I can always take it back up. So I want to just protect these. So I'll just draw little triangles pointed down here and there. Maybe simply some lines. And I'm thinking you can. Oh, there you are. I think you can see this better than I can because of the lighting of my room. I try to optimize it for you guys. So what you see when I'm doing it, it's easier to understand. So from the sample picture, I also saw some feathers kind of coming out here. Now I'm doing my best not to make these evenly spaced because it's something we do. We are pattern oriented, and we tend to make patterns, see patterns and make patterns. So I put a little one there. That might be bigger than I expected. And where else should we have some out here? Just any place that you see where there's some bright. And I think there's even some in the middle, like in here. If we just put get some on there, some short little marks of our masking fluid. I think, oh, that's big. That's better. To kind of be the white feathers that stand out when we're done. I'll pick up some of that and transfer it. And does it go higher? Yeah, it goes right out of this black. In fact, we're going to pull some of that out of the black. So we can, this black line that goes across here, when we do that, let's make it so that it has some white feathers going up in there. We can just do a wash of black across it. Oh, that's turning out okay. Who knew we were going to end up painting with, again, the even strokes here, with masking fluid. Now, when Kateri, I can say her first name easier than her last. It's the only reason I do that. When she described this or modeled how to paint this, she put a line, a narrow line. Let me make sure that this stick is not too loaded. I think I'll go over here. Yeah, that was too much. That's just right. And she put a line right here where the beak is, just so she can see the top and the bottom. And you know, I don't know why, but I don't know why she did it. She had an explanation, so I'm just going to do it too. And now that I'm that good and precise, now I think is the time I'll put the highlight of the eye. So what is actually in there? It looks like I have a reflection kind of in the front, and it's roundish for the most part. There also seems to be, like on the inside of the eyelid, a curl around there. Now, did that turn out? Oh, it's connected. Well, if it's connected, fine. I'm just going to leave it. Yeah, I should just leave it. Okay. So this needs to dry, and yours needs to dry. See which way are the feathers going. Feathers, the white ones, are actually kind of brushing up into here. So I've let you see the whole thing, and where usually I encourage you to do your own after I give you a sample to start with. But this seemed to be a good idea. And where's the outline? The outside of our bird. Right there. Is that the outside? Comes in, goes around. Yeah. Okay. Oh, and then there's some white ones right here. Like, again, I'm using the sample picture. In fact, those are some nice long streaks of feathers, and if we can pull that off with narrow ones, that would look good. Okay, are we there? A little more. And this is one of the few mediums where, I guess it's a medium, it's okay to let it bunch up or be in a blob, because you can see when it's a blob, you can take it off easier. Okay. Yeah, I guess I can do this all day. So, anything else on the top I need to do? No. I think we're good. So we're going to let that dry, and we'll come back and we'll prepare some washes. The washes will be not as dark as what you might have seen before. The idea being that we just want to put a light wash first and then drop in some shadows here on the bottom of our branch, and we'll continue from there.